Welcome to the Wild Pitch Podcast, hosted by Brian Gales, Jimmy Gales, Brian Dorsey, and Christopher Rojas.
All right, boys, we're back for another quarantine episode here of the Wild Pitch Podcast. It's good to see all your handsome faces in there. We got the full complement, and today we have a World Series champion, folks. We have Patrick Anderson. If you get a chance, and if you're hearing this, podcast, if you're hearing it just on the radio or in your car, make sure you get to our YouTube channel. He has a World Series trophy sitting right next to him. It's an exact replica from the Washington Nationals this year. It's something you got to see. We'll have him get into that a little bit. But Patrick's an old friend of ours. We go way back, and I think why we all consider ourselves baseball people here. You want to talk about a baseball lifer? This guy trumps all of us, right? So Patrick, thank you so much for coming on the show. Chris, what were you going to say just now?
No, I just said he's all in. He took his chips and he pushed it into the middle of the table.
Yeah, the rest of us are just cowards. We got like real jobs as like security blankets. This guy went all in, and he's going to have a trophy right next to him and a ring to show for it. Me and Chris do have a World Series ring from Division II that Mike Gaffney knows all about.
I might have to grab that out now that you mentioned it.
But Pat, thank you.
Well, that was just to appear. That was just to appear. He actually won.
Yeah, he actually won. Yeah.
Good point, Dorsey. Yeah. Thanks for raining on our parade over here.
Yeah, thanks for the interference too. That was great. So Pat, welcome to the show, man.
Man, this is awesome. Where do I start with this? The chiming in is perfect. You guys' personalities are beyond awesome. And when I say all in, you guys are a lot smarter than I am. I kind of try to grind through this baseball deal, but you guys know the gig because you can't make a lot of money in baseball. It's more of a passion, and it's cool to be around guys like you because in all essence, and I'm not just trying to say this, you guys are baseball lifers and grinders, and you try to find a way to get kids better, and that's a cool part about this game. And I miss a bunch of Long Island, but the food, the baseball conversations with a bunch of you guys, and I miss the heck out of that part. We're down here in Missouri, and people are a little bit slow pace and all that type of stuff. But it's cool, man.
Used to, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. More so than anything.
How long you been there now? I mean, how long did you guys move out there?
We moved out there 2 years ago. My wife, Larissa, she was a head coach at Hofstra. She was assistant there for about 17 years and head coach for 4 years. And they came, looking after her, and they offered a job here at Mizzou. And we moved out here. It was fortunate because I'm obviously in the minor leagues with the Nationals, and I could really pretty much go anywhere. You guys all know that. So. Yep. That was kind of my all-in, so to speak, and it worked out really good. We get a little bit more bang for our buck, so to speak, being out here with regards to, buying a house and all that type of stuff.
You don't got to worry about those Long Island taxes.
No, you're exactly right. You hit that on the nose. It's a little bit different. But
that's a legitimate softball job, the head coach of Mizzou. I mean, you guys, how close are you guys to campus there?
We are 10 minutes away. It is SEC is. Oh my gosh! Like I grew up and I played Division II junior college and Division II baseball, and actually play a little bit of football at Division II, and being around Division I at Hofstra for a little while. You really kind of get an idea what little bit of what baseball is like when we go down to play Florida State and all that type of stuff. But right. Seeing the SEC and the amount of money and the resources they have, it's ridiculous.
So her softball program in Mizzou probably trumped your Hofstra situation when you were the head guy, huh?
Just by a little bit.
Well, hey, New York Tech has benefited a little bit from the Mizzou experience, right? Because the former AD is now the president at New York Tech.
Yeah, our president of the school was, I guess he was a part-time interim AD at Mizzou. Right. So, like you say, Pat, he knows what it's like to come from total sports university, and he is really big on sports because of his experiences there in Penn State. So it definitely helps our baseball program, on Little Long Island. But
that's awesome. That's the way it should be.
I mean, you guys have the football. I mean, that's really awesome that your wife does that, and you can get the other ancillary experiences being in that town. You know, because like Long Island, we don't know anything about what a college town is about. We don't know. College is so like not a big deal to us because we don't have anything near us.
You know, it is a lot different. The tailgating is crazy. The people that they live for those weekend SEC games and just any football, basketball. But the cool thing with my wife's job is that one of the revenue sports here, and hopefully keeps going with all this crazy stuff, is football obviously generates more money the most, and then it becomes men's basketball. And then with a tie for third is my wife's program.
Is that right?
They pack it in. They have
wow. So they got a big following there for the girls program then.
They do. They really do. And it's kind of a cool deal. They pack it in there every single game, and you know, they're passionate, man. It's a different deal. So they come from all over the place. Just
right. So the buzz is always humming over there.
It is. It's. But I tell you what, though, and I don't mean to be all about this because it's a great situation. We kind of we have a little bit of that blue collar mentality, but like I kind of wish I could mash like the Long Island type of kids with this type of kids here and kind of get that good mix of talent wise, being around the situation of earning and learning and East Coast type of mentality with regards to the Midwest. And you can push both of them together. It'd be a pretty interesting group. So that's what I kind of learned out here, being out here and obviously being in Long Island for about 20 years.
So, I mean, you know, not only are you a baseball lifer, when you come home, you guys are still talking about your losses and the wins and the recruits. I mean, that's got to be intense.
It's funny you bring that up because just wins and losses, sometimes it gets really quiet around here, especially when the losses happen. But, you know, the hitting stuff has been what's going on nowadays. It's been we're house divided here with regards to some of that type of stuff.
Right.
It's kind of cool. It's cool. Like it's a good thing because, you know, it's not like she's wrong, I'm right, or either way, vice versa. It's throwing things we got to ourselves where we know each other so well that it's good conversation. So it's really challenging. You know, I've been kind of fighting some things and trying to learn a little bit about the hitting side and some of all this new technology, but yet not so much fighting, but learning more. And she's jumped in with that type of stuff.
So what is what's your thoughts on? I mean, listen, you're a big Kevin Long disciple. I mean, you guys go way back, right? I mean, he's instrumental in your career.
Very much.
So, you know, we go back and forth. We have a lot of guests on here talking about that very thing. What is the Nationals and your currently philosophy on hitting as opposed to what it was 20 years ago and whatnot?
I'm not just saying it because they give me a paycheck and all that type of stuff. I really like where we're at. You know, we kind of have that hybrid. We have some of the Rapsodos, the Blast, and a lot of the technology that are tools and help these kids out with some of the ways they learn and how their learning skill sets are. And we utilize that, but we really don't go full bore with that because there's too much information for some kids. It's really individual type of basis. And I really don't feel that that's the true answer. You know, I'm really myself personally, I try to get away from the extremes about and cloning guys. And I know you guys are all the same way, which I've been around you guys a lot to know that it's not one way. But, you know, I'll give you an example. Like Daniel Murphy, we all know he played with the Mets and was with us. The way he thinks, totally different than a lot of the stuff that we were brought up with. And some of the kids, you got to have that in your tool bag to learn what works for him. Because if you have a Daniel Murphy come by really talented and you can't reach him, you can't really talk to him about certain things, and you can't utilize some of that new technology to help him out, we're not going to maximize what he has.
Right.
So as a teacher, as you guys know, we have to have that in our mindset, but we can't just go full bore. And my argument with some of this is I feel that it's this information that we're getting is kind of misconstrued, and some are taking it to the extreme all the time, and everybody has to do this certain way.
They get locked in, right? They get so narrow-minded about it.
Yes, exactly right. And, you know, and I learned so much, and I had to put my ego aside for so much of learning. Like, I got to open myself up to this, you know, because, not
I
just.
think we find ourselves, all of us find ourselves in that position now, you know? I mean, the technology, the advancement in technology certainly, gets out in front of you. So you're playing catch up as it relates to that, because we're not part of that, initial generation, right?
Exactly.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. You got to, it's a tool, right? And it's something you got to use to help you be able to maybe teach a guy or be able to relate to him. And as teachers, you're still got to learn, like, as you're saying, right? You still got to learn about different approaches and different concepts so that, you're fully equipped to handle all different types of individuals.
You're exactly right. Exactly right. The issue I had with some of it, and not to get into too much of it, is this: I was fortunate when I first got here with the Mizzou program. I got to know some of these strength conditioning guys, and they're really good. They blew me away, and I felt that what their thoughts were. Some of them didn't really know baseball, but they knew a lot of how the body was, how it moves, and they were kind of teaching me, and I would teach them kind of the basics of movements, whether just throwing a baseball, whether just be trying to hit that movements of that. And I would ask, well, trying to learn these movements, what can we do to enhance this? What do we need to do to identify certain body types that they can do or what they can't do and what their limitations are? And they really kind of opened my mind of certain things to do and drills to do with this. So I think we're kind of going along the same lines, or good direction with regards to what we're trying to do to help these kids out. But again, the ones that I feel and it drives me at the wall is the ones that it's this way now, because you know what it is, and you guys know, like, it's not all about how far you play. The experience of like getting to the big leagues or the minor leagues is huge. Like, you can't, like, the approach and the plans and what you went through, the experiences is off the chart. But to the other extreme of the people that didn't do all of that or some of that or any of that, they're kind of taking what I'm saying, and this is just me, they're kind of taking this opportunity to jump in the game, and some of them are a little bit smarter than guys. That's the way they're presenting it.
Right.
It becomes, they're missing the human factor of what we've learned. And so if we can be able to mesh both of them together, if you guys understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's really important for our kids nowadays.
I love that you're saying this, because this is the ongoing battle right now. If you open up social media right now, and if you're following certain guys on Twitter, you'll see this, far end, two groups on two ends, right? And nobody can get to the middle as to how to implement it all and make it work. But, as it relates to like the metrics guys or the data guys, they unfortunately, and this is no fault to their own, but they're involved in the game. I'm assuming they have a lot of interest. They love the game, and and it's kind of taking them down this path where they can share their intellect and somehow impact the game. But they don't have all the other instrumental nuances or tools or feels that, guys who have played have. And Jimmy, you always talk about it's the feel, right? Being able to have that, right? How important that is.
Yeah, I mean, Pat, from your guys, when you get the guys at your level, they can handle the bat, number one. Like we're coaching at New York Tech. When you were at Hofstra, you can't get a kid to hit a ball to a certain position on the field if they tried. Like, they just can't do it.
Uh-huh.
So I always say, like, you could take this info. If you're 25 years old and you were just off a year where you hit 20 doubles and 2 homers and you have a total feel for the game, and you go, let me just look at that angle stuff, and maybe I'm going to elevate a little ball, but I could feel that through my fingertips. Just like, when Brian and trying to hit a sac fly, he made a slight adjustment, but that took 1,000 at bats to get to that point.
Exactly right.
You can't be teaching like a freshman at Mizzou or a freshman at New York Tech or a 12-year-old like this technology.
I agree.
Right? I mean,
it seems like the Nationals, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've taken an approach of trying to blend it. Some of these teams are getting rid of scouts, right? The Nationals have stayed, with their scouts and the baseball guys, kind of tried to blend a little bit of the analytic guys, but not gone all in on it.
Exactly right. We were trying to it was funny that during the playoffs, a lot of our people in the organization, whether it be scouts, whether it be player development, we were getting phone calls and texts going. They wanted us to win so bad because it's such a lot of these sports are copycat type of deal. You know what I mean? Like whether it be football or baseball, people were trying to figure out why do they win, or what little secrets or what have
you.
You
Want to copy the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, a lot of people were trying to get away from some of the information, some of the craziness. I wouldn't say crazy, a little bit overboard with regards to what maybe the Astros were presenting. And don't get wrong, there's a lot of that type of stuff. Because we share a facility, spring training facility with the Astros, and a lot of the information they have was really good. Like we signed, and not to deviate from this too much, but the Harris guy, the right-handed pitcher we got from them. And I thought it was pretty cool. What he said was the Astros found out through analytics of certain pitches that he needs to throw more to maximize him. Right. And he goes, I was the same guy from, double A, triple A, big leagues, what have you, with the same stuff. But that allowed me to get over the hump. And I feel that, again, like we're talking about, if we can get that good mix, we're not, I wouldn't say the Astros, we're not overly analytical, but yet we can grasp some of that information. We're learning what that information can help out the majority of our kids or certain parts of those kids. So again, if there's a way to mesh things together and go from one extreme to the other, I think it's going to be better off for our games. Yeah,
that's a breath of fresh air to hear, because, we're out of the pro side a lot longer than we were in it. And at this point, most of us here, right, Jim? I mean, been out of the game for a long time. So, just to hear though that there's still this attachment to understanding the importance of guys who have played and their experience and how they can help develop players and get them through the system, but still marry into some of the technology without going overboard. Because the other side of it seems a little scary when we talk to other player dev guys and they've said, because of how the metrics are so valued and because of how the data is so valued within the community or certain organizations, that kids are only training to metrics or to data and are not having a feel for the game any longer. So they're coming into camp or, fresh into pro ball, and they don't have the same baseball awareness or acumen as they once had in the past.
You're exactly right. And I don't mean to cut you off by any means, but I'm going to use an example. Juan Soto, everybody knows his name, and we can use him as an example. I was real fortunate where I stayed away from him. We all say that because he's so talented. Right. I wouldn't say totally stay away. I mean, my big emphasis with that kid was just really working on his arm strength and the game management in the sense of playing on the bases and defense, because this kid was, and you guys saw it, he is so gifted.
He's insane, dude.
It's ridiculous. But
what year did you have him? I mean,
I had him the most in the minor leagues. It was kind of funny. I had him for it was about 6 months, because he came to me at age 18 and then he got hurt within 2 months of playing. And then he came back to me the next year for a month, which the whole organization was like, why in the world? He needs to be in double A. And he was with us for a month to start off. And then that's the same year that he made it to the big leagues.
Wow. And
I was turning to Kevin Long, and K Long was in the big leagues with us, as a hitting guy. And I go, K Long, he's the best hitter here in our league. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and he knows me that I don't really put myself out there. I said, he's the best hitter in high A, best hitter in triple A. And he's borderline. I personally think he's got a better mind as an overall player than Bryce Harper. I said, I can't believe I'm saying it.
Right. That's going out on a limb, right? You almost sound sacrilegious.
It was. And K Long called me within a month and he goes, Patrick, I know I give you crap left and right. He goes, but you might be right. And he had both of those guys, you know what I mean? But again, it's a long way off. My point of this whole thing is that Juan Soto has such a good feel and understanding of what he sees and what his body movements can do, that the analytics that he takes is a lot different and very minimal comparison to anybody that I've seen nowadays with these kids growing up. Like your Matt Scherzer, we were talking about this before. Max is like a big visual guy. He likes to see videos and stuff like that. But like Anibal Sanchez, he likes to see the heat maps on swings and misses for certain guys. And Strasburg likes a little bit of both. So, like, again, that's what we're getting at, is that we need to be equipped with this type of tools to have it in our toolbox bag as much as possible to help these guys out. And you guys know at that level, those guys are really pretty smart, but it takes a while. They know what's going on. It takes a while to really get to those guys because of their experience. They've been that you might have to bring some of the statistics going, hey, this is what I got for you. You can use it or you might not use it. Right. And some of them are kind of give and take. And it's pretty cool nowadays to see the ones that I've seen that are really successful don't take too much of that analytics. And it's really, it clouds the mind. That's my personal opinion, what I've seen. And not to ramble on too much, when we talk about you guys being removed, and I'm not just saying this, like where you guys are at is so huge for development that these kids and these parents have no idea how important that is to get the basic fundamentals of understanding how to catch and throw that baseball, how to play the game, how to be able to swing, handle a bat, move a runner, like stuff like that. Man, some of this is, we're reteaching it because it becomes all analytics and it's all money, not money driven, but really so much result driven rather than the process of understanding how to be able to do those type of things. And we're losing what baseball really is, I feel, because they're not as prepared for higher up baseball because of where this is going, if that makes any sense to you guys.
It sure does, yeah.
Chris, you talk about that all the time. We see it. Nobody knows how to play the game anymore. And the funny thing is they train for the analytics, right? They train off a tee for exit velo. They train for spin rate, all this stuff. And we joke all the time that if I get an email and the kid puts his exit velocity, to me, it's as if it's not written. If he puts that his exit velo was 170 miles an hour, it means the same as 2 miles an hour to me. I don't care at all. And that's the truth, and I always tell everybody that if I had that when I played, I think all of us, we wouldn't have been allowed to play. If we got graded on that stuff, they wouldn't have never let me play baseball.
You could pick that baseball up and throw it over that first base. Damn good, man. So I know that.
So Pat, what's I think what people have come to this, because we find with we had Gaffney on last week, and just the fact that we labeled it college recruiting, I think it got a lot of listens. Because listen, at the end of the day, that's a realistic goal for everybody, is to get to a college, get yourself hopefully a scholarship, or at least get on a roster. You were the Division I baseball coach at Hofstra University. Pretty great position, tough to get those jobs, and now you're the manager. You'll be the manager this year, right? If you guys ever get out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So of what, Hagerstown or?
Yes, I was going to be in the New York Penn League, which I was really excited about.
Oh, really?
I was going to come see you guys. And
where were they at?
I was going to be in Auburn, New York, and we were going to come down there. I was actually really excited, not to take away from it. I was going to hope to go on against Blanky a couple times.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was awesome. I had so much respect for that guy.
Auburn, New York has Doubleday Stadium, I think.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Wait, so now though there may not be a short season ever again, right?
Yeah, they're looking to drop 40 teams. For us, I'm not really overly concerned because I think it's going to be exciting for myself to possibly even be. We don't have 4 coaches, and a lot of the other organizations do. So there might be a opportunity to be at the higher level. It doesn't matter. I could care less whether I'm manager or not. I just want the,
Right.
more experienced player and try to get advancement. Not so much just getting to the big leagues as a coach, but it's just I really want to be challenged at different levels. I mean, I love the A-ball level because it's teaching a lot of the beginning level and teaching baseball as you guys do it into college level. But I really want to get advanced in being AA or AAA. So.
Yeah, because that's a different type of teaching, right? Because now you got an older guy who's been around the game a little bit longer. So now your cues and your conversations change, right? Get them on board.
Yeah, it's just, you guys know it's about approach. It's about, those guys have a routine. They've had a lot of at-bats. They've had a lot of situations on the mound and understanding the game. It's just a matter of their approach, their plan versus this guy and situations. And it's just elevated conversations, more, baseball, not 101, 105, or, so to speak. And it's just, those really challenge myself to where, that's close to big league baseball. That's really what it is. And that's closer to that level, which is up there. And it's pretty cool. I went to St. Louis last fall, before the regular season. It was in September when we got done with our season. And I went over to K Long in his hotel and then went with him to the ballpark in St. Louis. That's about an hour and a half away from here. And in the hotel, he was showing me all the information on the pitcher. I think they were facing Mikolas and the bullpen and all the scouting reports and the stuff they had. And it is ridiculous. I mean, it's the guy sneezes. He sneezes in the third inning. They know what he was thinking before then. So I was getting a lot of this information. So my question for him was, what of all this stuff, what's usable, what's not? And he goes, the biggest thing is finding out the kids, and meaning his players, to what is usable for them. And it's the same thing we do every day, fellas. It's getting to know the player, identifying what kind of mindset they have, and be able to understand how to be able to communicate to them. And I think, again, I'm rambling a little bit, but I just think that at the early levels of baseball and life in general, the fundamentals, man, those are so important. And at the younger level, we're just trying to get them to understand what getting on time means, hitting wise, getting themselves to be able to have the proper grip or whatever that is. And then it becomes, we got to be able to repeat that. And then it becomes, okay, now we have to have a plan. So the process of that, you can't get to having a plan if you have no chance of being on time. You know what I mean, so to speak. So I think people are losing that aspect of it. They want to be able to get to the planned approaches and facing the big league pitchers and hitters, and then they're not ready to be on time and mechanically correct for the fundamentals.
So Jim, you were starting to allude to something in regards to the recruiting thing, right? For young athletes, like where are you going with that?
Yeah, so I mean, we could talk about a little bit of the differences, but tell me what Pat Anderson, the Hofstra head coach, what did he want in a player for his program?
Okay.
What were you recruiting?
For me, and it's different at every place because of the dynamic of what you have and what you don't have.
Right.
In regards to, how much the school costs, how many scholarships you have, the resource. And the reason why I say that is because you can think that you can go out all over the place and get these players, but you really can't. What's the fit for you? So, but if I wanted the local Long Island blue collar kid that just couldn't accept to lose. And I wanted them to want and love the game more than me. And that's a type of mentality. It's more of a mentality than anything besides the talent. You know what I mean? And it just, I really, and everybody says this, I remember so distinctly that people are like, oh man, I don't care how hard he throws. I just want to get that guy that can pitch. Man, I've seen so many of those same guys go after the kid that's throwing 93 that has no idea, and he's walking guys, not getting anybody out. And I still see them going after those 93-mile-per-hour guys, and
because it's hard. It's so tantalizing.
Oh, you look at it, you get excited, you see that gun, you're like, man, how can we do this? But and not to get into it too much, but I learned so much from that situation. I did it wrong, and I'll be honest with you, I went in thinking I could be able to push the mentality, and it was, old school, not so much Bobby Knight, but I didn't. And I sat back and I really realized it afterwards. I had a kid named Danny Torres. I'll never forget.
First baseman, big first baseman.
Yeah, left-handed hitting first baseman from Oyster Bay. And this kid, I got to know this kid, his family, everything about him. And I saw him after I was at Hofstra, and he came up to me and gave me the biggest hug. And I realized how I screwed up before, to where I was forcing the mentality when I first was a head coach, because I was trying to make guys do this and be who I was, and then I realized from him how much love and respect he had, because I got to know him as a person, and I talked to him like a normal human being rather than being my way or the highway. So again, not take it away from your your question.
Listen, Pat, any tangent you go on is a route we want to take.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think there's a lot of value in what you're saying, no matter which direction it's really going in, because, you know, I think it's all relevant to today. You know, it's all, all these things become impactful, especially even for us as coaches at the collegiate level. Hearing you talk about some of the maybe pitfalls you may have fell into, right? And having the awareness now to kind of reflect back and say, you know what, that may have not been the proper approach, you know, and then making the adjustments, because, you know, one of the things, there's two things you've said. And, you know, well, one thing in particular, you kept talking about process, right? And everything has a different process depending on I guess, the arena that you're in. You know, there is a method to it. And too many times people don't want to buy into that process, or don't want to really, you know, dig deep into it, right? Because there's either a quick way or a shortcut, or, you know, somebody's telling them otherwise. But then there's the other thing, as you're talking about now, and you didn't use this term, but it's the adjustments, right? It's you know, you're talking about Pat Anderson from 2008 to 2011 when he was the head guy, you know, and Pat Anderson today in 2020, you see it a little bit differently now, right?
Oh man, by far. I mean, it's wild to see how these kids are, and not so much just adapting for them, just because of ourselves and how we can be able to help these kids out, be able to communicate. Like I like listening. I think more now I listen rather than talk. And I think and I'm rambling on now, but I feel that if I can be able to listen to the kids, or present questions for the kids, for them to be able to talk, they'll give you the answer more than you would ever think, rather than dictating and telling them. And that's really one of the things that I've learned so much, man. It's crazy. It was pretty wild, because when I was gone after Hofstra, and I sat back and had some time to reflect. My first year in professional baseball as a manager, I was in the Gulf Coast League, and my farm director turned to me and he goes, I don't care how many games you win. I want these kids to, for one thing, I want that hotel to be taken care of discipline-wise, because all those kids are going to they're young and they're in that hotel, and it's crazy. Complex baseball is a different world, and all you guys know how that is. And he goes, I want them to understand the fundamentals and how to be a professional. That's all I care about. Fellas, when I tell you, that was my constant goal every day, and I didn't talk a lot. I observed, I watched, I was able to delegate to the coaches, and I was able to sit back, and the times I didn't say things, it was better off. And when I did, it resonated more. And when I tell you that our record for that year, you're going to laugh. And you guys know it in professional baseball, you know, when guys are moving up and down, it's hard to really win. You know what I mean? Oh. We were 62-9, and we won it all. It was like, but like the point was, I sat back and I was like, these kids, they did it on their own. They let them play.
Right.
You know what I mean? They started getting the feel, and the questions I got from these kids were amazing. And it was pretty awesome to see how things evolve. And you guys have been on these teams to where, you know, it's more of where you have interactions and communications and opportunities to discuss baseball when you win, but when you have your fellow teammates chiming in and feel comfortable in the situation. And I've been searching every single year to find a way, a remedy to have that type of, you know, create that atmosphere. And it's tough, man. You know, it's an everyday process. So
yeah, well, you got different characters, right? Different cast of personnel.
Yeah.
It's relearning how to talk to certain people.
Well, the big thing, and what I was going to get back to, circle back, is I found out that of what players that I really like and what I like to be around. There's some guys I would take with lesser talent to have the mentality and to understand how the team concept is. It's so important. It's so important. And then, like, there was a few guys that I saw on the recruiting trail when I was at Hofstra that I probably sat back and would have been like, you know what, that's the type of guy for me. He was 83 to 87, could pitch, had 3 pitches in play, but I watched how he dealt with failure, and I watched how he dealt with, or how he went about his business. And these kids, man, they have what it takes at that young age, and they have a chance to be more consistent and help you out. And their personalities of how they were as teammates and how they watch the game and the dugout and all that type of stuff. We preach about this all the time. Very few do that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of neat. I don't know. It was something I learned from.
I think
one of the things Jim is big on about how is a kid paying attention to how a kid handles himself and what type of attitude they have, because ultimately they're going to be in your clubhouse, and they're going to be in the locker room, and they're going to be, mixing in with everybody else, and what type of impact are they going to have on them because of their attitude.
And Chris, we all know as recruiters, it's how do you get to know a kid to that level? That's where you have to be so hardworking. I think, and Rojas and I, when we got, asked to coach with Catalanato at Tech, we fortunately just came out of a high school situation where we did have some pretty good players that were needing places to play, and we knew them to be winners, right? So it wasn't groundbreaking bringing them in like talent-wise, but they had been in big spots with us. They had produced the big hit with 2 outs and all the pressure and the lights were on. And, you take a team that's last place and you go to the College World Series the next year, it was mostly because of those types of kids that we had an intimate knowledge of them. So I think, moving forward, we always talk about we got to know the kid, like you said. And I think you're right on, Pat, with all of that stuff. It's hard to win at Hofstra, too. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, it's challenging. It sure was.
You're in a southern.
Pat, you talk about mentality, and I think we don't realize. It took me a long time.
Cut. This guy.
That's the most difficult.
Don't mind him. He's trying, man.
Thing to teach somebody, because.
Hey, technical difficulty, Dorsey. We heard nothing you said.
Gosh.
Brian Gelsey, fill in for him.
What was he trying to ask us, you think?
Text your message in. Text your question in.
Text
we'll
your
go to the audience.
I lost a little bit of that. But
yeah.
I want to mention something about Catalanato. I got to know him a little bit. I think I threw BP to him once or something like that, but I talked to him a little bit, here and there. But gosh, man, having a guy like that, and that's ridiculous. Like he's got it all. Like and this is just the outside looking in.
Yeah.
I feel that he's that guy, the blue collar guy that just grinds, been there, done that. Like is not overly arrogant about it. It's just, gosh, man, And the thing is, I'm hoping these kids and these people understand, like, how those type of personalities are. Like, I could imagine just being around him for a year. I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because, Jim knows him well because he trained with him. They went to the same high school, and they're friends,
Mm-hmm.
For a guy like me, what was great was being able to learn again. Because, granted, I played 10 years on the pitching side, right? And seen a ton of stuff, and there's a lot of insight that I can provide. But then now you hear from a guy who was 14 years in the big leagues, and how he's kind of looking at it, his perspective, right? Then you sit back and say, oh, there is more to this. There's another way here. And what sucks though is that you don't have, and you probably remember this, and maybe a little far removed, but Jim, right? Today's amateur travel programs where everybody thinks they got it figured out, right? Everybody is the expert. The kids come in, the fathers know better than we do, and I joke around, like one of the things, and it's a running joke that I say, is that, they became experts listening to Ralph Kiner, so you can't tell them anything, so it's like, they know more than you, and they, they got a question and an answer for everything that you're trying to provide them. And they lose sight that, hey, I probably can't teach them if you let me,
Pat said it, and Chris, because you had a lot more coaching experience than I did when we both came together to coach St. Dom's. So Pat reflects on his career and goes, "Oh man, I screwed it up," which you didn't. We all think that, but I go into St. Dom's and I'm thinking, I'm a professional baseball player. I know everything. And after that first year, I turned to Chris. I'm like, God, I stink, man. We gotta that was the wrong approach, whatever we just did. And we did really well. Don't get me wrong. We went to the finals and everything, but it wasn't like I thought. And like you said, now into my 6th, 7th year, we change every single year. We adapt to the kids. Every single year we change something, because it is really difficult. But imagine that parent that isn't an expert like us. They think they got it figured out, and here we're talking about how bad we are.
I heard this from outside sources about you guys and your program and stuff like that. And I always keep in touch with a lot of those guys there. And I laugh because it's sad that some of the parents just don't know. And when that goes on, what I'm saying is that we see the bells and whistles, and I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but people see like, oh, this organization is going to this tournament and they're winning this and all. It's all about winning, my kids being seen. And like the ground roots of this whole thing is how these kids can have an opportunity to learn the game of baseball and how they can be able to get their skill set better and be able to be seen. And I feel it's in that order of what the process we talk about for these parents to understand. They go to these winter workouts and it just becomes a, who's who, or a, make things look good because there's so many kids there and people are just rambling on saying
eyewash.
Yeah, but it's, where is the substance? And people
I love that word. I use that all the time.
Can't, like I feel that, and the phrases that I use are like white noise. Like I get so frustrated that there's a lot of white noise out there and there's not a lot of substance of what really it should be. So what I was getting at is that I've heard, and this doesn't surprise me, and I'm not saying it because I'm on here. It's just you guys do it the blue collar way, and your process and the way your substance is for each kid to get better in the fundamentals and keep moving forward that way. And it's not about just, we want to win. Don't get me wrong. Like when I say this, we're out there to win every ball game.
Absolutely.
But the parents want to win. They don't understand. And when I say parents, I say that because it's trickled down to the kids and it's keeping up with the Joneses. Why is there a way for us to bridge the gap for these people to get the best out of their kids and get their best opportunity from learning the fundamentals and learning the game? And I've heard that you guys done a great job. And I hope that some of these people start seeing that rather than just the bells and whistles of looking good in the uniform and so-and-so wins all the time in certain tournaments.
Well, listen, that the win sometimes is more important for the parent at the water cooler the next day at work. I think in our organization, we've had some pretty good teams that really held their own, were developing. And, let's say you get a midweek game, right? You run out of pitching. Our second baseman goes in. He's 5'4", and he lets up 12 runs. So now they lose the game 17-2. Meanwhile, they just had a great weekend, right? Two people will quit that day because they are embarrassed. The parent is embarrassed to be part of that game.
Right.
It happens. You get that. You see that lopsided loss. Someone's quitting tonight. You talk them out of it. They go on and they have a great season. And you're like, really? But it was just the embarrassment of the parents, the ego.
Oh God.
It requires a lot of hand-holding at the youth level nowadays. That was not, I don't think, was prevalent back in the days. And because one, there was very few opportunities. I guess there weren't as many opportunities now. So if you want to go play somewhere and be told you're going to be the starting shortstop and bat third and be on the quote-unquote best team, then you can do that because you can up and leave, and somebody else will tell you what you want to hear. So you have some of that, and then you have the more parent involvement, and God bless the parents, because I don't think they mean any ill will. I think their involvement and their, or whatever it is they're trying to help facilitate for their kid is out of pure love, right? All of us want to see our kids do well, right? We all want the best for them. But wanting the best for them and allowing them to have their own experience are two different things, right? And I think, Pat, I don't know so much about your youth background, but I would assume you got dropped off, you went and you played, and that was it, right? It wasn't like dad or mom hanging on the fence, yelling at somebody or on top of you, or you know, or upset with the coach because, you know what, today you batted 7th because, you know, you batted 3rd the last 4 games. He wanted to get somebody else in there, you know? So there's a lot of that, unfortunately, that kind of clouds and, like you said, creates more white noise as well. You know, so it's a different landscape for sure. And we battle through it. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is to try to maybe change the message, you know, or provide a different message. You know, and having guys like you on here is pretty awesome and help us with that too.
I wish you guys the best, man. I really do. It's just the way it should be done. It gets clouded because there's, and like you said, I think you're right. Hit it right on because the parents, they just don't know. They're trying to do the best for their kids, but the education on that part of it, they just don't know, and they're hearing the bag of goods from certain people, and they're really not finding that substance like we're talking about.
So Pat, do you mind if we're gonna put a little heat on you here? All right.
Good. Let's go.
So first off, like, you know, everybody listening knows this guy's an awesome dude, great guy, really nice guy. But the one thing you got to understand about everybody is we're all super competitive. And I know you have that edge to you.
No doubt.
I know it. I've seen it.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, I do.
So
Rojas does for sure.
Yeah. So we have a little story though that, you know, we coach with Ray Gianelli's on our staff as well. He's
this is great. All right, go. I love it.
Volunteer assistant. So, Brian, tell him what Pat said to Ray, and Ray brings it up twice a year to us.
As he should. I should be around when he says that too.
we had you know, the 3 of us went to Tech. We had just beaten you guys at Hofstra. 1-0. And after the game, you went up to Coach G and said, that's a good win, either a good win or a quality win for your program. Now, in our minds, we beat Hofstra every game.
This is awesome. I deserve this, but the backstory of this is going to be so good for you guys.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
Here we go. Yes. So you know the situation.
Oh, I like it was yesterday.
Bring it on. I'm excited.
It was yesterday. Like you guys know, in baseball, we don't forget much, man.
Yeah.
I probably should forget that one, but Ray, and the funny part about it is Ray's one of us, man. He's like he gets after it. He's
intense. He's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the comical part, and I think it was just like a week or 2 before we played Delaware. And I don't care if this is online. This is great. I hope
this is what we need. You're taking us to the edge here.
Don't call it the wild pitch for no reason.
You guys are going to get it, boy. This is going to be it.
Here it comes. Pay attention, people. The wild pitch is coming right now.
We had just, I think it was my first year, second year. But anyways, we played Delaware, and Delaware beat the dog piss out of us. They beat us on Friday. They usually come up Long Island and get some recruits, and Sherm beat us pretty bad, real bad. And then the next day on Saturday, we beat them. I mean, when they beat us on Friday, it was 15 runs. It was bad. I mean, it was uncle. Everybody was there. And then the next day it was colder, so there wasn't that many people there. So they beat us. And in college, they shake hands after every game. By the way, I'm not a fan, but I mean, just not my deal. The social.
Right. Maybe they're not going to be doing that anymore, right?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm like Buddy Ryan from the Eagles back in the day. I'll just wave from the sidelines. But anyways, so we went up to shake hands, and he said that same exact thing to me. And my response, like inside, was the same thing what Gianelli felt. And I was so fuming. Inside, I was like, what? That's a good win for what? So I'm like, and I just kind of paused and try to be professional about it and kind of give him a look, and I just went like this, and I filed it away and left. And I was in that shower, man. My wife, I wasn't talking to my wife later on. I mean, it was one of those deals, man. I was pissed. So we had played Tech, and I've heard all this stuff about Tech, and you guys get after it. And Hirschfield, I love that guy, man. He could do no wrong in my book. He should be selling cars, by the way. He's really good with that tongue. And we lost you guys, and there were so many things that went on beforehand of our guys, like they were chirping, and all that stuff. It was New York baseball, man. It just was. And we lost, and I was so mad inside. And it came out just like
you just had to give it back to somebody.
Said the same thing. And I sat there afterwards, and I was like, for one thing, I was the wrong guy to say it to. Crazy, you know, that guy, he could take his fingernail and beat the heck out of me on that one. So that story is every bit of true. I was, like I said, I was wrong, and there's some situations at Hofstra I said I should.
You know, it's funny. It's funny what we carry with us. Like you said, we don't forget many things, but that's still, like Jimmy said, he literally will bring that up twice a year because it still bothers him. It's still in his ribs.
You know what? And I got a lot, and I'm not just saying, I have a lot of respect for that guy, man. And I you know, one of those other parts that you sit back and you're like, man, I wish I need to get to know these guys a lot better before I spout my mouth off. And I learned the hard way on that one, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's what we talked about with Gaffney last week. That's what rivalry is all about. And you kill to play in those games where it just goes beyond just the regular standings. You know what I mean? So,
that's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys called me out on that one. I deserve that one. That's good. Tell Ray one
more thing I'm going to call you out on is
all right, good.
It's not call. I mean, it's just more an appreciation. You absolutely bleed whatever color you are part of. I mean, you have to be wearing Washington Nationals underwear right now, right?
It's a little uncomfortable, but
I mean, I see photos of you at Facebook, Christmas with the family. You got the ugly sweater with Washington Nationals. I'm like, this guy is all in.
I am, man. You know, it's one of those things my grandfather always taught me. He goes, listen, and we all give each other crap about, you know, it can't be looking like a billboard, walking around like a billboard all the time. But, you know, it's one of those things. He taught me the mentality more than anything. He goes, if you're all in, you're all in. He goes, you can't go half. He had all right, it'll be a quick one. He has a toilet seat. He was Mr. Fix, and it was cut in half. He goes, you never do a half-ass job. And so that was what he brought to the table to me. And so, yeah, I'm walking billboard. I'm all in.
Nah, that's awesome.
So let's talk about that trophy.
All right, man.
Side there.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool. Obviously, the big league team won the World Series, and they flew us up there for game 3, 4, and 5. And I called my wife and I said, hey, I'm going to go. I'm looking on flights. I'm going to go down to Houston for 6 and 7. I can get tickets, and my family, one of my cousins lived down there. So we went, and the stories beyond so much time we have going down there for 6 and 7. It was just amazing. Like it was, the after party was crazy, fellas. It was pretty cool. But afterwards, like a week afterwards, you know, my boss and all those guys were telling me that they had replicas for, you know, we could get from the players. All got them. Scherzer got like 3 of them, I think. They all got them for home, and they are the exact same thing with regards to the weight, the height. I mean, everything in this. And I got one. It was passed down to where they said they can get the minor league staff can get one, and it's something my wife gives me crap because this is my only downstairs is my haven here, fellas, and I put all this stuff. I got this bats thing made of baseballs and
that's pretty
bats of the minor leagues, and I had that made. So I got this thing, man. It's pretty cool. It's the replica of the trophy, and so
that is sick, bro.
It's pretty cool. It's awesome, man.
You had to take advantage of that. I mean, that's that's amazing.
How much does it weigh, Pat? Is it heavy?
It weighs about 33 pounds, I think, or something like 25 to 30 pounds, I think.
Wow.
It's just pretty.
Now, are you guys still waiting on your rings?
We are. They said it was pretty cool. Man, listen to this. We got an email, like we're all like getting sized up and all that stuff, and we get an email saying, you know, like there's certain levels of these rings, and we found out that we have to pay the taxes, which is normal from everybody. You have to pay the taxes on this thing,
right?
And the taxes, man, it's a lot of money. So we're dying. We're going, this ring has got to be huge. And we found out the ring's going to be, it's pretty pretty expensive. So anyways, They really want to hold off, and no one's seen it except for the owners, I believe, and they're going to hold off because they want to do it in front of people. So we'll see.
So you're still on call, right? You don't have any idea when they're going to try to get this thing going again.
No idea. I mean, it was pretty cool. We had a Zoom, kind of these conversations with Davey Martinez was a special guest, our big league manager. It was all the minor league managers and him, and we were spitfiring questions, and it was awesome. It was just like this, man. It was so cool. And so he was going through the case scenarios. So it looks like I really think the big leagues are going to get going. They're going to be really limited, obviously, with regards to, they're going to try to get us 80 games or whatever the heck it is in the warmer areas and kind of confinement. The biggest thing, we're getting tested for the virus and keeping those tests going and seeing if they got enough of those to do that with. And what makes baseball, more important to get tested than the regular people. So they really have to be, careful with this. So the minor leagues, he was kind of mentioning that there's a possibilities of, I don't think there's going to be a minor league. That's just my gut. But if there's an outside chance that could happen, but I think it's probably going to be very limited and could be down at our spring training site for some of our prospects and some of those guys. So we might be able to have a chance to siphon ourselves through there and work and hopefully keep getting paid, man. So we'll see.
So that's a big impact. People aren't realizing. We were down in Florida when they when the collegiate level got shut down, and the umpires were down there training, right, Jim? I mean, they were getting ready. They were doing recertifications, getting ready to get back into wherever regions they were from, and they make a lot of those guys make their living, being umpires, and it has ton of ramifications. I mean, that's just one example. Obviously some of these, bigger franchises are dealing with employees from the stadiums and all that got, they're going to be in tough spots as well. So there's a lot of unfortunate impact,
a lot, yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully get this baseball going and have a little quality of life and try to get this thing taken care of, man.
Yeah. What I want to ask you, Pat, and I know you mentioned when you first started managing and rookie, but first of all, that season that you guys went 62-9, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Did you guys get minor league team of the year? I don't know if they give short season minor league team of the year or not, or did you guys get nominated?
We did. It was pretty awesome, man. Yeah. It was pretty neat. They were talking about us. We actually got a handful of votes on like SB Award. It was pretty wild, man. It was wild. The kids weren't going nuts. They loved it.
That's a sick run, man.
It was neat.
So, but as it ties into that, he wanted you to teach these guys how to become professionals, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm sure as things evolve, or maybe even during that time, where's the organization stand on? Because you said I know they want the teams to win, right? Do they want to create that culture of winning?
Yes.
So when you're trying to create that culture of winning, and this is a tough question, so bear with me. The business aspect of the game allows for the potential prospect to be given the opportunity over the kid who maybe is now ready or can help now, right? But isn't necessarily long-term future. So how do you balance that as a manager? I'm sure that's got to be tough for you sometimes. Like, how do you navigate through that?
The one thing I've learned, and one, but a lot, but it's just I'm straight up honest with every single one of those kids, man. Every single one, of what their player plan is, what we have. The kids know, man, just like us. We knew, we kind of sense, and I just tell them straight up, if you want, to know what's going on, you come in my office. I'm going to tell you straight up. You might not like what you hear, but it's going to be the truth. And I feel that, of understanding what their player plan is and understanding what it's like in a sense of writing that lineup and telling them what's going on. I try to take care of them, because we were like, for me, I was that guy. I was that backup catcher hanging on, just trying to get an opportunity. I didn't get a lot of money, just an opportunity. And so, we know that, in professional baseball, just like anything else, when we're going to give this guy $1 million, we're going to give him the best opportunity, the most opportunity, because we invested that money. Mm-hmm. So we know that at the minor league level, and try to be able to put any of those guys in situations to win a ball game. There's so many parts of this game that's involved. Like, we cannot, at our organization, we can't pinch hit for a guy at our level. We can't pinch run for a guy at our level, unless it's a
An
really
injury of some sort, right? I mean,
yes. You know, they want that experience,
right.
regardless of how slow or how fast they are, to be able to, you know, learn to play the game. You know, and so to try to find a way to win a ball game, but yet understand that, you know, he's got to get a certain amount of pitches, he's got to get a certain amount of certain experiences for that guy, and it's for everybody. You know, it's a, you know, it's another opportunity for somebody else that comes out of the bullpen for his opportunity to do what he needs to do. You know what I mean? Or do we stay with that, you know, guy that's a starter, it's a prospect, you know what I mean? So like this, we try to find a way to have your cake and eat it too. You can't always have it, but the trust of us as managers, as coaches, to be able to, you know, put these guys in situations that's best for them. And it might not be best for the team at the time, but it's going to help them out down the road. So, and not just be all about the one guy. Hey, I got 24 other guys that, you know, and I got that guy that's, you know, that non-drafted free agent. I'm going to give this kid a chance. And I'll
Well, that's got to be pretty rewarding for you, right? As a manager, to be able to give him that opportunity.
Oh man, it's a guy brings to my mind is a guy named Eddie Lucas. He played 5 years in the big leagues. And this kid went to Dartmouth. He played baseball there, and he was going to go off and make some money. But he played, I think, 11 years in the minor leagues, and he blew Colorado. He was number 13 out of 13 position players in A-ball in Burlington Island. I'll never forget, man. He grinded his way through it, and he made it to the big leagues just because he just kept going, and he took advantage. He never bitched and complained about it. And it's hard, man. Like you guys know, it's so hard to be able to do that. But on our side of things, we got bosses, you know.
Sure, you got people to answer to, absolutely.
But in our organization, I really feel we've done a good job. Not because I'm wearing Nationals underwear and all that stuff, but we do a good job of taking care of everybody in that organization as much as we can, and being straight up with them. And, you know, like Matty Ricesetter is a prime example of from Hop Hog, and it was pretty cool. We needed a guy. We needed a catcher. I didn't think he wasn't going to get drafted. It was after the draft on the junior year. So he might've got drafted his senior year, but you guys know in your senior year sign, you don't really get that much money.
You got to take your opportunities when they come. They don't know
so we needed a guy. So they gave him, you know, they paid for his school, and they gave him, I think, $10, $12, $15,000. So like, that's an investment. And you got $60,000 to go to school, and another $15,000, $75,000 an organization puts into you. That gives you opportunity, a little bit more you would think than, you know, maybe a $5,000 sign at a senior. So he took it and ran with it. He's still sitting in AAA, and he was catching big leaguers up there.
Right.
He was on the Phantom DL.
One ball away, never know.
That's it. And he ended up winning a game for him in AAA and the PCL. And this guy's sticking around, and you never know. Like, he's 5'9", and there's some guys on, and I'll never forget. There's guys that didn't think he could play Division I baseball, and I disagreed with them, you know.
Right.
But anyways, like the point of what you're asking is it's a hard thing to do, to be able to teach the winning mentality, but yet understand how to be able to get those players the best opportunity. And I tell you what, when I was with the Royals, and I didn't have blue underwear for them, but they did it right too, man. Like you know, all those kids, the Salvadors, the Mustakas, all of them, they came up and they kept winning, but they did it right, and they had opportunities, and everybody, they kind of had their cake and eat it too. So.
Yeah, so you've been part of two organizations that you've seen young kids become World Series champions. That's pretty unique, and I mean, you had a hand in it. You know, you had a little hand in that.
You guys know, like, man, I'm going to play the other side. When I say the hand is just, it's a little bit here and there. It's not a lot. Maybe it's a lot for some guys. Maybe majority of those.
Yeah, I think you find your handful of guys that, you know, I mean, I can look back in my career, and some of those lower level guys that I was with, they were instrumental.
Oh yeah,
instrumental, you know.
But the way I look at it, it's like, man, I want them to be the best version of themselves, and if I can give them a nugget here and there, it'd be great. But like the best ones, man, are the better ones that they figure it out. They learn. They learn from their teammates and all that type of stuff. So, like I said, with Juan Soto and some of them, I just stayed out of the way, man. I didn't want to get in their way.
Which is actually hard for a coach to do, though.
You know what? You're exactly right, man. We always want, but like, hold on. We got to let them figure it out sometimes. Yep. So, Wani he was great, man. God dang it! It was
No.
Billy Butler was a piece of work. We can have another hour conversation about Billy Butler. He's something else.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Gaff used to talk about him all the time. Some crazy stories.
I'll just leave it this. Billy Butler.
Hit, man. Huh.
He's not the smartest character in the world, but he could hit that fastball. That white thing coming at him, he could hit. And he was 3 fries short of a Happy Meal, man.
Well, sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Well, listen, I'm realizing one thing as I sit here that, I'm going to text my buddy Joe Dillon to be on this podcast.
Oh, you guys know? How do you know Joe?
So Joe and I played with the Marlins the year he came back from back surgery, decides I'm going to give baseball a try again, and goes off to the big leagues. So he and I were roommates on the road, and we really, had a liking to each other.
Joe D is awesome.
He is the best, and I keep telling these guys I'm going to text him to be on, but now that I had you on, I think maybe he'll probably accept now.
Oh, come on. He's way bigger than me by far. Joe D is awesome. He was with the Royals before, and that's how he knew Kevin Long, and that's kind of how he came up and got his opportunity. Awesome, dude. Like, you talk about taking what's new out there and understanding the swing. This guy has really done that. So he'll be really good, to have on there.
Yeah, he's such a great guy, and
man, he's outstanding.
Hey, is it safe to say you don't miss recruiting?
Oh, man. The grind of it, no. The getting your own type of guys, I love, you know what I mean? And it's just to be able to sit in front of those kids and pick and choose the guys that you want is cool. But the grind, man, that's a tough one, brother. God, I don't know how you
started taking it to the West Coast for a little bit too, right?
Did, man. I tried to get that little train going out there, and it worked on a handful of guys.
Yeah, who was the kid? Pete? What was it?
We had Danny Poma, who was drafted in the
3rd round, right? Something like that?
He was I think he was the 8th or 9th round, but he made it a little bit, and we had 4 or 5 other guys that got drafted in free agency.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, there's a guy. This is kind of funny. We had a kid that got just for academic money. He was a sideline. He threw on, I wouldn't say underhand, pretty much. A guy named Zach Bash, and this kid was $150 from Ohio. Nobody knew this guy, and it was crazy because he was an academic kid. He came from a majority of academic money and very little scholarship, and he just had a hard time throwing strikes, but his stuff was pretty nasty. He ended up playing with the A's. Now he's running their minor leagues, not on money, but he's a development side in the minor leagues with the A's, and nobody knows that he played at Hofstra. He was just okay, but he eventually got better because he threw strikes from down there, and it was 85, 87, but it was pretty wild to see some of these kids who came through.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing what our guys become down the road, outside of baseball and just in life,
No doubt.
I mean, I know as the recruiting is a little easier at Division II because you have a smaller target. But the high of when that kid you want says he's coming to your school is I really enjoy it.
That's awesome, man. That's what makes it worth it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you say it's easy. I don't know if it's easy because we're targeting the same guys that the D1 guys are targeting. So.
As you should. You're daggone right.
I don't necessarily know if it's easier.
It's a little bit smaller pool, right? I mean,
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair, yeah.
That's all. It's just a smaller pool because, they're up against Division I they're going after guys that might get drafted. They're going to lose those guys. And I just think it's a bigger pool, But listen, it's hard, of course, all the way around. It's the toughest part of the job. But, well, listen, Pat, we want to, over the next few years, I mean, the next goal for you is we want to see you make it to the big leagues too. And
appreciate
I want to see you on that field. Get on that plane, eating that shrimp cocktail.
That's spread, baby.
Hopefully that's the thing though. You're putting in the time, and that's what you have to do with your profession is you hope one of your boys becomes the manager and, you get on his staff and then you make your own way. You become the manager one day. Yep. So we know how.
I know how hard it is what you're doing because we watched those guys for so many years. But even listening to my friends who are on the player development side like you are, and playing, there's a grind, right? There's nothing glamorous about the minor leagues. You know that, right? There's nothing you know, it's not a 5-star experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being on your side is an even tougher grind than some of these players know. You know, so these, you know, obviously you're having fun with it. Clearly, you're having a lot of success, man, and that's awesome to see. And you know, keep getting after it, dude. So,
Man, it's awesome, man.
enjoy yourself.
I appreciate you guys as much as possible. You have no idea, man. You really don't. I appreciate you guys having me on here, and anything in the world I can ever do, I'd be glad to help you guys out, man.
Appreciate it.
We'll take you up on that one day. Don't worry.
Man, hey, do me a favor. Give Ray a big, I wouldn't say give him a hug for me, but, you know, maybe a social distance high five for me. Tell him, I'm not even going to say I'm sorry. I got to say I'm sorry to his face. That's what I'm going to come up there and do that.
Well, you know what we will do is get you and Gaff on here sometime together in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll probably wear a collared shirt for that guy.
Yeah, he's a handsome kid.
Good stuff. Well, listen, to everybody who tuned in, thanks for checking out the Wild Pitch podcast and our guest today. And until next time.